The dust settled around the wagon wheels as Martha Henley pulled the reins tight, bringing her small caravan to a halt beside the trading post at Cedar Creek. The year was 1878. The Arizona Territory stretched endlessly in all directions, painted in shades of amber and rust under the afternoon sun. Her 5-year-old daughter, Sarah, pressed her face against the canvas cover, blue eyes wide with wonder at this new frontier world. "Mama, are we staying here?" Sarah asked, her voice carrying the innocent hope that had sustained them both through 3 weeks of hard travel from Kansas. Martha's heart clenched as she looked at her daughter's trusting face. They weren't staying, they were running. From the memory of James, her husband, who died in a mining accident 6 months ago, running from the creditors who'd taken their farm, running toward her sister's ranch in California, where they might find a new beginning. "Just for the night, sweetheart," Martha said, forcing a smile. "We'll rest here and move on tomorrow." They climbed down from the wagon. A commotion near the creek caught their attention. A group of white children had surrounded a young native boy, no more than 7 years old. His clothes were torn, his dark hair matted, and he clutched something protectively to his chest. "Give it back, you dirty savage," one of the boys shouted, grabbing at whatever the native child held. Sarah's small hand slipped from her mother's grasp before Martha could stop her. The little girl marched directly into the circle of bullies, her chin raised with the fierce determination that reminded Martha so painfully of James. "Leave him alone," Sarah demanded, stepping between the native boy and his tormentors. "He's just little like me." The white children laughed cruelly. "Sarah, come back here," Martha called, but her daughter stood her ground. "What's he got that you want so bad?" Sarah asked the biggest boy. "It's a carved horse," the boy sneered. "Probably stolen from some settler. Indians are all thieves." Sarah turned to look at the native child. His dark eyes met hers. She saw something there that made her heart hurt, the same lost look she'd seen in her own reflection after Papa died. Without a word, the boy opened his hand to show her the small wooden horse. It was beautifully carved, worn smooth by countless touches. "Did you make that?" Sarah asked gently. The boy nodded once, then looked away. "It's beautiful," she whispered, then louder. "He made it himself. It's not stolen." The bullies weren't impressed. "He's probably lying. Indians can't be trusted." Martha finally reached her daughter and pulled her back, but Sarah twisted in her arms. "Mama, they're being mean to him. Sarah, come away. This isn't our business." But Sarah had already pulled free again. She ran back to their wagon and returned with her own prized possession, a small cloth doll that James had bought for her last birthday. She held it out to the native boy. "Here," she said simply, "so you won't be alone." The boy stared at the doll, then at Sarah's face. Slowly he reached out and took it, cradling it against his chest alongside his carved horse. The bullies confused by this act of kindness gradually dispersed. Martha approached cautiously. "Sarah, we should, Mama. He looks hungry." Sarah interrupted. "Can we share our supper?" Looking at the thin child, Martha's own maternal instincts stirred. Despite her fears about getting involved, she found herself nodding. "Very well. But then we must get some rest." That evening, they sat by their small campfire. Sarah had insisted the boy join them, and though he remained silent, he ate gratefully when Martha offered him bread and beans. Sarah chattered constantly, telling him about their journey, about Papa, who was in heaven now, about the new ranch they were going to find. The boy listened intently but never spoke. When Sarah asked his name, he only shook his head. As darkness fell and Martha prepared their bedrolls, Sarah made a decision that would change everything. "He can't sleep out here alone, Mama." "What if wolves come?" "Sarah, he's not our responsibility. Please, Mama, just tonight." Martha looked at the boy's grateful eyes and sighed. "One night, but tomorrow we leave at dawn." The next morning, Martha woke to find Sarah's bedroll empty. Panic seized her heart as she called her daughter's name. Then she heard soft voices by the creek. Following the sound, she found Sarah sitting with not just the native boy, but with 3 elderly Native Americans, 2 men and 1 woman, who had approached their camp. one of the elders. A man with silver braids and deep-lined face was speaking to Sarah in broken English. You, kind to running fox. You give food, give comfort. Sarah nodded solemnly. He was sad, like me when Papa died. The elder's eyes widened. Your father, he die. In the mines, Sarah said matter-of-factly. Mama says he's watching over us now. Martha approached slowly, her heart hammering. She'd heard stories about conflicts between settlers and native tribes, but these people seemed peaceful. The elderly woman stood and walked to Martha. In careful English, she said, Your daughter, she has good heart. She feeds running fox when he hungry she. Give him comfort when he grieve. Grieve? Martha asked. The woman nodded sadly. His family. Killed by bad white men 2 moons ago. He alone. We find him yesterday, but he'd not speak. Not eat. He want to. Join his family in spirit world. Hand went to her throat. She looked at the silent boy who was now showing Sarah how to weave grass into small braids. He was going to ... Till your daughter show kindness, the elder man said. She reminded him that good still exists. That not all white people have hard hearts. Martha felt tears spring to her eyes. She thought of her own grief, her own despair during the long nights after James died. How many times had she considered giving up, if not for Sarah? We come to thank her, the elderly woman continued, and to offer gift. The leather pouch she withdrew a beautiful beaded necklace. The intricate pattern seemed to tell a story, in blues and whites and deep earth tones. This was my grandmother's, the woman said, placing it gently around Sarah's neck. Believe. She was healer. She believed kindness is strongest medicine. Sarah touched the beads reverently. It's so pretty.
Well, since...
The elder man stepped forward. We hear you travel west. Dangerous journey for woman and child alone. Martha stiffened. We'll be fine. Winter come early this year, he said gently. Passes through mountains already closed with snow. Many settlers. Trapped. Martha's heart sank. She'd counted on reaching her sister before winter set in. If the passes were closed, the elderly woman seemed to read her thoughts. You stay with us? Our village safe? Warm? Food enough for winter? Couldn't... Martha began. We're strangers. We have nothing to offer your daughter already give greatest gift, the woman interrupted. She'll give hope to boy who lost hope. She'll save his life with her kindness. As if to prove her point, Running Fox suddenly spoke the first words Martha had heard from him. Mama, he said to the elderly woman, his voice barely a whisper. She, friend. The woman's eyes filled with tears. She knelt and gathered both children into her arms. Yes, little one, she is friend. Martha watched this. Seen her own eyes blurring? Here was kindness beyond anything she'd expected in this harsh land. Here was the very human connection she'd thought lost forever when James died. But could she trust it? Could she risk Sarah's safety on the kindness of strangers who many of her own people would consider enemies? The eldest man seemed to sense her hesitation. You fear us, he said simply. Your people tell many lies about our people, Martha flushed. I don't know what to believe. Believe this, he said, gesturing to where Sarah and Running Fox now sat together, sharing Martha's remaining biscuits. Your daughter see with heart, not with fear. Maybe you learn from her. That afternoon, Martha faced the hardest decision of her journey. The trading post owner, a grizzled man named Pete, confirmed what the elders had said about the mountain passes. Snowed shut tight already, ma'am. Won't open again till spring. Any fool tries to go through now won't make it 10 miles. Stared at the mountains in the distance, their peaks white with early snow. Behind her, she could hear Sarah's laughter as Running Fox taught her to skip stones across the creek. The sound was like music, the first time she'd heard her daughter truly laugh since James died. "What do you know about the tribe camped upstream?" she asked Pete. He spat into the dust. "Apaches, but not the fighting kind. Been peaceful long. As I've been here, old Chief Morning Sun keeps good control over his people." "Why?" "They've invited us to winter with them." Pete's eyebrows shot up. "That's rare, ma'am. Real rare. Most tribes don't truck with settlers at all, especially not after all the bad blood." "Would it be safe?" Pete considered this. "Safe as anywhere. Out here, I reckon. It'd be safer than trying to winter at this post with no supplies and no man to protect you." He studied her worn dress and nearly empty wagon. "Got family waiting for you in California? My sister? But she doesn't even know we're coming." Pete nodded slowly. "Then I'd say you've got a choice. Take the Indians' offer and maybe live too. See spring, or try to winter here and maybe don't." That evening, as Martha tucked Sarah into her bedroll, her daughter asked the question she'd been dreading. "Mama, are we going to stay with Running Fox and his grandmother?" Martha smoothed her daughter's golden hair. "Do you like that?" Sarah nodded earnestly. "Running Fox doesn't have a mama or papa anymore, just like me. But I still have you. Maybe we could be his family too, just for a while." Out of the mouths of babes, Martha thought. Her 5-year-old daughter had grasped something that Martha herself had been struggling with. That family wasn't just about blood. It was about who you chose to love, who you chose to care for when they needed you most. "Yes, sweetheart," Martha whispered. "I think we'll stay." The next morning, they broke camp and followed the elders upstream to their village. Martha had expected teepees, but instead found a collection of sturdy adobe and stone dwellings tucked into a protected valley. Gardens showed the remains of corn and squash harvests. Horses grazed in a natural corral. The villagers watched their arrival with curious but not unfriendly eyes. Children peeked out from behind their mothers' skirts, whispering among themselves. Martha felt her cheeks burn with self-consciousness. But Sarah walked beside Running Fox as if she belonged there. Chief Morning Sun emerged from the largest dwelling. He was tall and dignified, with silver threading through his black hair, and kind eyes that reminded Martha of her own father. Through the elderly woman who, Martha learned, was called Gentle Rain, the chief spoke to her. "He says you are welcome in our village," Gentle Rain translated. "Your daughter has shown that some white people still remember how to see with their hearts." Martha bowed her head respectfully. "Tell him I'm grateful, and tell him I hope I can prove worthy of his kindness." As the weeks passed, Martha discovered that her preconceptions about native life had been largely wrong. The village was well organized and prosperous. People were intelligent, spiritual, and deeply connected to the land. They had their own complex systems of government, medicine, and education. Martha found herself learning alongside Sarah. Gentle Rain taught them about desert plants, which ones healed, which ones fed, which ones provided dye for the beautiful textiles the women wove. The men taught them to read weather signs in the clouds and wind. Knowledge that could mean the difference between life and death in this harsh land. Most importantly, Martha watched her daughter bloom. Sarah and Running Fox became inseparable. He taught her to track animals and identify birds by their calls. She taught him English words and showed him games she'd played back in Kansas. Together they were healing from their respective losses. But Martha herself struggled with a different kind of healing. James had been her world, her anchor. Without him, she'd felt lost, purposeless. Here in the village, she began to discover parts of herself she'd never known existed. She had a gift for healing, Gentle Rain told her. Her touch seemed to soothe fevered children, and she learned quickly how to prepare poultices and teas from desert plants. Soon, villagers were coming, to her as well as to Gentle Rain when they needed care. "You have healer's heart," Gentle Rain said one evening, as they prepared willow bark tea for an elder with joint pain. "Maybe this why spirits bring you to us. Martha paused in her grinding. I don't know if I believe in spirits. Gentle Rain smiled. Your husband's spirit brought you here. You know you need to heal. You know little Sarah need to learn that world not all darkness. The words hit Martha like a physical blow. She'd never told anyone in the village about the depth of her despair after James died. About the nights she'd stared at the ceiling and wondered how she'd go on. How did you? I see grief, like fog around your heart. Gentle Rain said gently, but also see love. Love for daughter. Love for husband's memory. Love beginning to grow for new family. She gestured around the village. Grief and love, they not enemies. They dance together. Make us more human. Winter deepened. Martha realized that Gentle Rain was right. Her grief for James wasn't disappearing, but it was transforming. Instead of the sharp, desperate pain that had driven her from Kansas, it became a gentle ache, like the memory of a beautiful song. And something else was growing alongside it, a sense of belonging she'd never expected to find. The village celebrated the winter solstice with a ceremony of light and gratitude. Martha and Sarah were invited to participate, adding their own prayers of thanks to the communal fire. As Martha watched the flames dance against the star-filled sky, she felt James's presence as clearly as if he stood beside her. Thank you, she whispered to the night air. Thank you for leading us here. But their peace was not destined to last uninterrupted. In early February, a group of white settlers arrived at the village, not peaceful travelers, but armed men with hard faces and harder hearts. Their leader, a man named Calhoun, demanded to see the chief. Martha watched from Gentle Rain's dwelling as morning sun met with the strangers. She couldn't hear their words, but their aggressive postures told her everything she needed to know. They want the children? Gentle Rain said quietly, appearing beside her. What children? Running Fox? Others whose families died? White men say Indian children should be in their schools. Should learn white ways, forget our ways. Martha's blood ran cold. She'd heard of the government schools, where native children were taken from their families and forbidden to speak their own languages or practice their own customs. The stories were heartbreaking. They can't just take them, she said. Gentle Rain's face was grim. They have papers. They say law is on their side. Martha watched as the confrontation near the chief's lodge grew more heated. Calhoun was shouting. Now, waving official-looking documents. Morning Sun remained calm but firm, his arms crossed over his chest. Then Martha saw something that made her heart stop. Sarah had left the other children and was walking directly toward the argument. Running. Fox followed close behind her, his hand clutched in hers. Sarah, no. Martha started forward, but Gentle Rain caught her arm. Wait, the older woman said. See what happens? Sarah marched right up to Calhoun, tilting her head back to look at his face. Why are you yelling at Chief Morning Sun? Asked in her clear, innocent voice. Calhoun looked down at her, his expression softening slightly. Well, hello there, little miss. Are you lost? You shouldn't be with these people. I'm not lost, Sarah said firmly. I live here, with my mama and my friend Running Fox. Calhoun's eyes narrowed. Your friend? Child, this is a savage. He's not your friend. Sarah's chin came up in that familiar stubborn gesture. He is to my friend. I ever had. He taught me to weave grass and find water, and he takes care of me when I'm scared at night. Well, he won't be doing that much longer, Calhoun said. We're taking him to a proper school where he'll learn civilized ways. Sarah stepped in front of Running Fox protectively. You can't take him. It's my family. Martha could stand it no longer. She pulled free from Gentle Rain and strode toward the group. Sarah, come here. But before she could reach her daughter, Running Fox stepped forward. For the first time since that day by the creek, he spoke clearly and loudly enough for everyone. To hear I not go, he said in careful English. Sarah, my sister, this my home. I not leave. Calhoun laughed harshly. You don't have a choice, boy. The law says, what about me? Everyone turned as Martha stepped into the circle. Her heart was pounding, but her voice was steady. What does your law say about white children living with Native Americans? Calhoun looked confused. Well, naturally, any white child would be returned to proper Christian custody. Then you'll need to take my daughter too, Martha said calmly. Sarah looked up at her with wide eyes. Mama. Martha knelt beside her daughter and running fox, putting an arm around each of them. These children are family, she said, looking directly at Calhoun. If you take one, you take both. If you take both, you'll have to take me as well, because I won't be separated from my children. Your ... Children, Calhoun sputtered. Ma'am, you can't be serious. This boy is a heathen savage. This boy, Martha interrupted, her voice like steel, saved my daughter's life and my own. This boy has more kindness and courage in his little finger than you have in your entire body. This boy is my son in every way that matters. A murmur went through both the white men and the villagers. Chief Morning Sun stepped forward and spoke in his own language. Gentle Rain translated. He says the white woman speaks truth. She has adopted Running Fox in our way. They are family now. To take the boy, you must take the woman and her daughter also. Calhoun's face turned red. This is ridiculous. I've orders to collect Indian children for schooling, not to start collecting white settlers. Then I suggest you leave empty-handed, Martha said calmly. Because Running Fox isn't going anywhere without his family. For a long moment, the two groups faced off in tense silence. Martha held her breath, praying she hadn't just made things worse for everyone. Finally, Calhoun spat in the dust. This isn't over, he growled. The territorial government will hear about this. It's about white women living like savages, corrupting their children. Let them hear, Martha replied. Let them come and see what real family looks like.